and welcome to today's Urban Humanities lecture series. I'm Katharina Gerstenberger, I'm the head of the Department of German Studies, and I have the great pleasure this afternoon to introduce to you today's speaker, Todd Herzog. Todd is an associate professor in the Department of German Studies. He's also the interim Taft faculty chair. He's the graduate director in our department, and he's the director of European Studies, so he clearly likes administrative work. There's no other interpretation that I could come up with on that fact. But he's also an avid researcher, obviously, and that's what we're going to hear about this afternoon. Todd is an expert in the field of film studies. He's done a lot of work on that. He teaches film studies, supervises dissertations in the field. He has also worked on Weimar culture. That's the culture of the 1920s, basically, in Germany, and on German Jewish issues. So it's a fairly broad field of research that he pursues. His last book that came out last year is entitled, has a great title, Crime Stories, Criminalistic Fantasy and the Culture of Crisis in Weimar Germany. So I can recommend that. He's also the author of Rebirth of a Culture, Jewish Identity and Jewish Writing in Germany and Austria Today. That's an edited volume, and another volume that he's edited is A New Germany in a New Europe. So he's he's published in many journals, so he's a very prolific researcher and publisher. He's currently working on two projects. It should be interesting to see those when they come out. One of them is an encyclopedia of German film, and obviously he's cooperating on that one with other people. And then the other project is a book that he's working on, and the topic is surveillance, and I think we're going to hear about that this afternoon. And in that project he's looking at film, but also at other media, including TV, and not just in the German context, but also in the context of other European countries and the United States. So it's very broad in scope. He received a Taft Fellowship for next year to work on that. So then I will just hand things over to Todd, and today he's going to talk about life after the death of privacy. And since it's the Urban Humanities lecture series, I think the setting is going to be Paris that we're going to be hearing about. Todd.
Thanks a lot, Katharina. Thanks everybody for showing up on this gloomy Thursday afternoon. I apologize to anyone who thought they were going to hear a lecture about Berlin. I changed my topic several weeks ago, but I don't have any contacts inside the Taft Center to have told about it. But what I'm going to be presenting to you today is as Katharina mentioned, a small portion, beginning portion of my current book project, which is on surveillance and the media in the present age. And this was a project that began in a very different form 3 years ago, during my sabbatical, which was partly funded by the Taft Research Center. And I was working at the time, I thought, on a project on the films of Michel Haneke, and I will be talking about Haneke extensively today, but I wanted to take a break from his sort of bleak and brooding and depressing films and watch something a little different back then. And as I was watching the third film in the Bourne trilogy, the Bourne Ultimatum, have any people seen that? Good. You recall this great scene in what takes place on Waterloo Station. It's, if you know the Bourne films, they always follow a pattern of three great chases, each one sort of increasing in intensity at the beginning, middle, and end of the film. This is the first one, but it's really my favorite chase scene in any of the Bourne films. Jason Bourne is trying to lead a reporter, played by Paddy Considine, through Waterloo Station, and nearly every square inch of the station is covered by security cameras, which are being monitored directly out of the United States, but Bourne is talking them through the whole way and weaving them between cameras. And as I was watching this scene, I started to think, well, I wonder, I mean, I know that it's not true to life, but I wondered how much of our public spaces were in fact being filmed and being followed. And so I started to look into this, and the answer really surprised me. I mean, we knew there's a lot of security especially since the terrorist attacks of 2001. But the numbers are really quite staggering. I've just put up a few of the many images I could have here. If we take Great Britain, which is the undisputed queen of surveillance networks at the moment, there are 4.2 million cameras covering the United Kingdom. And of course, it's impossible to verify any of these numbers. I mean, the governments will not give out that number, but people have actually worked on this. And the estimate is that every resident of Great Britain is filmed on average 300 times a day by one of the CCTV cameras. And that's one camera for every 14 residents of the island. There's one particularly notorious street here, this depicted Holloway Road, which is the most surveilled street in the world, apparently. It's a champion on that. But you'll find all over the world. In the United States, we have, let me get the number right, I believe it's 30 million. 30 million estimated, again, security cameras, private and public, throughout the U.S., recording 4 billion hours of footage every week. It's just really quite staggering, and then people have started to sort of react to this. I particularly like this picture here, which you can see the CCTV camera up there, and then One Nation Under CCTV, which is a surveillance network in Britain. Unfortunately, this is blocked out in this view of the shot, but there's an image of a policeman, and you can kind of see the dog there looking up in the old-fashioned sort of observation, and then these cameras, which seem not to even be catching the person facing the building. I think it's a pretty good image there. Well, if it's not just the official security networks in our post-9/11 world that are recording us, it's also the unofficial security networks. If you think about it, anybody with a cell phone and an internet connection, which is to say just about everybody, could be filming what I'm doing right now and See, the potential for irony is just a subject. So this is going to go up on YouTube, and tens of millions of people are going to pass over it so they can watch a video of a cat playing a piano somewhere, right? But it's going to be there. Okay. But if you think about our potential to be filmed, to be seen, is almost ubiquitous now. And we see the cases of that, whether it be something scandalous like a politician's recorded misstatement or statement that was being recorded ruining a political career, or a sex tape launching a celebrity's career, or simply somebody walking through a train station. We're on film as no other time in history. And again, I love the irony here. If you think about these unofficial networks of surveillance, this is a series of Flickr feeds. I found 1, 2, 3, 4. I found at least 5 of them rather quickly that are images of Matt Damon and the crew filming that scene in Waterloo Station. And again, I just love the irony that the master spy Jason Bourne can stay off of camera, but the actor who plays him has been recorded in dozens of candid shots available on the internet here. So the idea is this: we have this sort of absolute ubiquity of being able to be seen. The statement, though, that I want to sort of base my talk today on, it was made by then CEO of Sun Microsystems, Scott McNealy, about a decade ago. And it's a statement that's often misquoted in an important way. I actually take the statement more seriously, I think, than McNealy probably did. And he said, again, what's going to be a famous quote taken out of context, that privacy is dead, deal with it. And the notion that we live in a world in which older notions of privacy are no longer possible, and that it's something we must deal with. Sometimes people mistranslate this as privacy is dead, get over it. I don't think that's what, I don't know what McNealy wants to say, but that's not what I want to say. I want to say I want to look at the ways in which we are, in fact, dealing with this sort of ubiquitous surveillance, and I think some of the answers to that are really quite interesting.